Schrock. We'll give a few minutes here for everybody to join up who is coming. Yeah, I don't know why. Literally, the camera was super clear right before I started the Aftershock. I started the Aftershock, and the camera, like, the lights went out and came back on, and now it's blurry. So I'm wondering if maybe Facebook changed their algorithm to adapt for connections. So we used to have a wired connection here in the studio, but ironically enough, the wireless connection was faster somehow than the wired connection was. So we use the Wi-Fi in here. So if the Wi-Fi is degraded for some reason, it might be causing the blurriness. But yeah, you can see the blurriness here a little bit on the Schrock logo. It's not super clear like it should be. It's just a little pixelated. So I'm gonna look into that over the week, guys. Sorry about the blurriness there, but yeah, we'll get through it. We'll get through it. Oh golly! So if you have questions for me, like I said, this is going to be a little bit shorter of an aftershock today. We've got some stuff going on after the show here that I gotta. I'm on kid duty, so I got to make sure I'm home to watch littles and they don't destroy the place before I get there. But I want to make sure we take some time to go over a couple things that happened in the service center. We had the Des Moines location trip. We can talk about that. We have the Omaha Beef sponsorship. We can talk about that. We have coronavirus. We can talk about that. So you tell me which one you want me to hit on first, and then we can jump in there. Raining in Des Moines right now, huh? It's not really raining here. I guess I don't know. We missed out on the rain this time around, which that's Omaha for you though. It's like, oh, everyone, you're gonna get 14 feet of snow, and the snow's coming right at us, and then it's like a force field around Omaha. It just goes bloop, and comes out the other side. And people on one side of us get like a shelf of snow, and people on the other side get a huge shelf of snow, and we're just like, sweeping off our driveways. It's weird. I don't know why. We're gonna pay for it horribly at some point. When you have a 60-degree day in February, you're going to pay terribly for that at some point. It's going to happen. Oh, golly. So let me see. We got to all the stories. One story that I didn't cover on the program because it's kind of a rumor, but you know how Apple was the first company to get rid of the headphone jack in their phone. And now there's a rumor that Apple might be getting rid of the charging port, too. And going to only wireless charging. Kind of like if you have an Apple Watch, it's got that puck that just kind of magnets to the back of the phone and charges it. But Apple may get rid of the charging port to free up some space in the phone. This is probably a top Apple analyst is saying on CNBC that Apple will remove the charging port from the iPhone in 2021, suggesting it will be completely wireless. This would be bad for most consumers because wireless charging is still too slow. It wouldn't work with all CarPlay cars, and it would still require the use of a charging pad, which is probably why they're pushing it off to 2021. So, that's great questions. Like, how do you hook up devices to your iPhone? How do you hook up, non-earpod headphones? But that's what it comes down to, right? We're going to sell earpods. You don't have wired headphones at all. We don't even have to make the adapters anymore. So yeah, it's going to be. Somebody somewhere is going to invent a Bluetooth adapter for the phone that has a little Bluetooth puck on the end that pairs with your phone and then plugs into your car. I mean, they'll work around it. But yeah, this is just so they can get literally that eighth of a square inch back that charging port is on the bottom of the phone. If they can get that space back, they can put another hour of battery in the phone. They can do, they can put another camera in the phone. They could do a better microphone or a bigger speaker or something. It frees up just that little bit of space that they can get something new in there, or they can make the phone a little lighter. All right, so Des Moines first. Des Moines was the first one. Coronavirus was second. All right. Maybe you could just share the beef tickets with Joe's Tractor. Yeah, we could. All right, so first off, Des Moines. The lovely Kimberly and I went out to Des Moines on Thursday, and we looked at. So the first time we went out, we put some price restrictions on the properties we wanted to look at, and the resulting properties that we got, and the price restriction wasn't bad. We said we wanted to spend $30 a square foot or less, which is like $4 a square foot more than our most expensive location costs in Nebraska. So we thought we were being pretty generous with it, but we literally, the choices we had, like, they were not hot. We could have been between like the tattoo parlor and the glass blow smoke shop, which, hey, that's our peeps, right? No, it's not. But yeah, we could have been there. Nothing wrong with those businesses. There were people going in and out of them. The business park was busy. The thing with Des Moines is, with Omaha, it's weird because you could drive around Omaha or you could drive around Lincoln, And every single commercial building you see, almost every single one, has at least one available bay. There's lots of, we're overbuilt in both cities, right? Des Moines has the opposite problem. They are ridiculously underbuilt. Every single complex that you drive by is completely full. So there are very, very few spaces available. So the first place, we found two places that were, well, we found three that were amazing. We found two that we're going to look into more seriously. So the first one we looked at was right across the street from the Jordan Creek Mall. It was we took off all price restrictions. Show us the good places to be, and then we'll deal with the sticker shock. So the first one was the sticker shockiest of them all, coming in at $42 a square foot. Was across the street from the Jordan Creek Mall. So this would be analogous to our Omaha Service Center. So it's right across the street from the Village Point Mall, except we're only paying like $28 a square foot there, or $27 a square foot, something like that. This was 41, 42, somewhere in there. It was ridiculous as far as price. I mean, but it is what it is. It was the only spot available in the strip. We were right beside a jewelry store, so we had good neighbors that were a little more. They weren't tattoo parlors and smoke shops, and they were actual legit businesses. There was a bunch of workout places. It was a tenant blend that was very similar to the tenant blend that you would see in the Omaha Service Center. Pet-related stores, workout places, restaurants, things like that. So it was a very nice blend. But the price, the space was great. The price was good. The tenant improvement allowance was great. That was too expensive. Legitimately, we just have to say, listen, I don't want to get into a place where we have to charge a different price in Des Moines than we charge in Omaha, because the taxes are $8 a square foot higher in Des Moines for businesses than they are in Omaha. Because businesses don't pay taxes, people pay taxes, and that price gets passed down to customers. But I don't want to have a two-tier system. I don't want to grow to the point where we have to charge one price in one city and a different price in another city, or worse yet, be like Best Buy, where you go in there for a maintenance checkup on your computer and it's $150 now, because that's the price they charge in New York for it. So they charge the same prices everywhere, but you end up paying a New York price in Nebraska. What good is that? So, we don't want to charge, New York prices in Iowa. We want to charge the same price we charge in Nebraska. So, that was great. But the guy who showed me the bay actually was a Schrock listener, which was surprising to me that, I listen to WHO all the time. He goes, that's all I listen to. So, yeah, I know about you guys. Hey, that's awesome. He goes, yeah, we'd love to have you. You'd be an amazing tenant. He was excited to have us. He was able to give me all kinds of background information on the different players and the different who owns what in the city and who does their work right and who does their work wrong. He also was able to tell me, the signing restrictions are pretty intense. So at Schrock, we have a formula for how large the sign has to be given the speed limit on the street outside. And in Des Moines, or in Iowa, the rule is for every 1 foot of facade that you have on the street, so for the width of your bay, for every foot wide it is, you get 1.5 square feet of signage. So if you go with a skinny bay that's really, really deep, you can only have a really small sign. And if you go for a big bay that's really shallow but it's long, you can have a ginormous sign. So it's kind of like, okay, I get it. You don't want to have, some tiny little business putting up like a billboard over their door. I get it, But still, man, some of these sign spaces are pretty small. So the first place didn't work out. The second place that we looked at was right on the border of West Des Moines and Waukee. There's a complex there, Hawthorne Plaza. It's got a Jimmy Egg in it. There's a lot of other little restaurants. It's kind of weird because in Jordan Creek, it's all box stores. There's very few independent businesses. And outside of Jordan Creek, just outside of Jordan Creek, like 4 minutes away, where we were looking at this in Hawthorne Plaza, it's all independent businesses, no anchors. So it's weird. Des Moines is just weird like that. There's not a blend where you've got a bunch of anchors blended with local businesses. It's just weird. So we went and looked. We looked at 3 different bays that were available in this strip complex. One of them was a virgin bay that has never been opened before. The price per square foot was reasonable, even given the taxes. We were like, okay, it was at 31. That's why we never saw this bay the first time, because it was $1 out. So I'm like, for an extra, $6 or $10 a month, I'm not going to discount this because this is in the area we want to be. It's a nice looking bay. But the back wall was diagonal, and the bathroom plumbing is on the back wall, which means we're going to have to put a square ADA compliant bathroom on a diagonal wall, which means obviously we're going to have a really cockeyed, weird hallway situation. We were going to lose like 300, 400 square feet of the bay because of that. And the bay was already, a little bit smaller. Like the Papillion and Lincoln Service Centers are about 1,600 square feet. This one was about 1,400 square feet. Yeah, right in there. So it was a little bit smaller already, but then so we're down to almost 1,000 square foot of usable space. A good chunk of that's going to be front area. I had a concern that we wouldn't have enough bench spots, so that one was a no-go. Two others in the bay, though. We looked at another one that was a former Complete Nutrition or something like that. It was one of those nutrition stores. It was all right. It was nothing wrong with the bay, but it was already built out to be a Complete Nutrition. And literally the amount of stuff that would have to be done to the bay, we would have to take it down to studs again and start over to make it a Schrock space. So it was a lot of construction and a lot of expense. The third spot we looked at was a former restaurant in that same strip mall, and the name of it, lovely Kimberly, if you remember the name of it, please type it in. I don't remember the name of the restaurant, but it was an older lady who wanted to open like a bakery style restaurant. And so she spent like $250,000 on ovens and everything else and hoods and all this stuff. And she was just a retired lady, and she just wanted to have something to do. She did it for 3 years, the term of release. After 3 years, she was kind of bored with it. She sold all the equipment, got her investment back, and rolled it up. So the floors are already done nicely. The demising walls are roughly where we already need them to be. We'd have to extend one and knock one out, but they're there. The bay is the right shape. There's already a huge power panel in the bay because it was a restaurant. So we already have a massive power capability in the bay, which is great. The HVAC is already in, the ductwork is already in. Like, this would be pretty advantageous for us. So we plan on writing a letter of intent on that space. We do have some requirements, though, that we're going to throw down. Basically, it's between this space and the next space I'm going to tell you about. Whichever one comes back with a better deal is where we're going to be. The space that we're looking at that I was just talking about, the former pie restaurant, it has no tenant improvement allowance. So supposedly everything that we do in there is going to have to come out of pocket, and obviously we're not going to do that. So now that's where the negotiation starts. Everything is nope, you're going to have to pay for everything, and we say nope, we're not going to pay for anything, and we're going to probably end up meeting somewhere in the middle. But the other place we looked at is actually, ironically, mind-bogglingly, inside the Jordan Creek Mall. So now remember, across the street from the mall, it's $41 a square foot. Let me tell you how this works in Omaha. To be inside Village Point in Omaha, you're going to spend about $40 a square foot all in. To be across the street from the mall, you're going to spend about $26 a square foot. So it is like 60% of the price. So it's 40% cheaper to be across the street from the mall than it is to be in the mall. We like being across the street from a Best Buy. Best Buy refers a lot of traffic to us because there's some things they're just not allowed to fix. And they don't do data recovery. They don't do a lot of things that we do. And the things that they do well, but the things they don't do, they send to us. So it's really nice to be that proximately close to a Best Buy. This is the former Charming Charlie space inside the Jordan Creek Mall. It is a 3,000 square foot space, so it's way bigger than what we need, but we can run a demising wall right down the middle of it, and it's almost exactly what we need. The floor is already done. The ceiling is industrial. It's shot white. We'd have to have it repainted black. The HVAC is already in. There's probably 2 units on the roof anyway, because that's usually what they do for a 3,000 square foot space, so we can just get one of the units for us. It should be good to go. But the thing that blew my mind, and this is why I said the first guy we talked to was so helpful, I would have completely discounted a space inside the Jordan Creek Mall, because obviously if the space across the street is $41 a square foot, and I know that prices inside the mall typically run 60% higher than that, why on earth would we even look at a space inside the mall? Well, apparently the leasing company that's handling the mall is working very, very, very hard to put people in that mall. They do not want it to become a dead mall like you see in so many other places. It is really important to them that they have people in those spaces. Consequently, they're cutting some pretty unique deals to get people to go in there. This location is directly across the parking lot from a Best Buy. Unlike most mall areas, it has front door parking, which is one of our requirements. We don't do shops that don't have front door parking. We've tried it, it doesn't work. Not for us. It's not good customer service to make someone drag their computer across a parking lot to bring it in the door. So, wow. So, we're going to do some investigation. We were going to write a letter of intent on that space as well. So, basically, the two spaces, whoever comes back with the better deal as far as getting us in the door with zero out of pocket, that's what we're looking to do. Because trust me, we're going to have enough marketing expense going out the door that I don't want to have to worry about construction expense. I don't want to have to general contract the space. I did that with our Omaha Service Center. It's not fun. So there you go. There's our Des Moines report. So you're looking at the Jordan Creek area, which is where we wanted to be to begin with. One place is actually inside the Jordan Creek Mall. The other place is right on the border of West Des Moines and Waukee. So it's literally like 4 minutes from the Jordan Creek Mall. It took us 4 minutes to drive there from the first place that we looked at. So with all that said, guys, I hope that for those of you listening from Des Moines, I hope that lets you know where we're going to be, or at least where we're looking at being. And if you have a preference, please let me know. I mean, the two places are like across the street from each other. So, I mean, well, they're 4 minutes apart, I guess. So, if you would rather see us closer to Waukee, let me know. If you'd rather see us in the Jordan Creek Mall, let me know. Your opinions do have weight in this. I do value them. So, all right, let me scroll back up and look at comments here. Oh, we got the Des Moines thing taken care of. All right, coronavirus. Nancy from Phoenix. Good to see you, Nancy. Good morning, Don. Waukee schools and businesses are really exploding people-wise. Yeah, that's what we were told is that Waukee is the fastest growing community in the Des Moines metro area. Just absolutely exploding. All right, what else do we got here? The Hawthorne Place would be more convenient for me. Yeah, I mean, the Hawthorne Place was nice. It was easy to get into. It was easy to get out of. It was a one-way traffic roll, kind of like around our Lincoln Service Center, where you go through the parking lot one direction for the most part. And honestly, the guy here, one thing that I really liked about Hawthorne Place, Hawthorne or Plaza, or Place Plaza, whatever it is family owned, third generation. So the guys that own the building are the developers that own the land. They owned all the land going down the road all the way to the dentist office there. They have their own in-house construction company. They would do all the general contracting. They do the construction at cost because it's their construction company. The kid that worked with me, he said my grandfather was started this, and his dad got into it. Now I'm the third generation. And you know what? I responded to that because that's huge. Now the funny thing was, this kid had obviously never watched a Fixer Upper episode in his life. For those of you who have not watched Fixer Upper, it's Chip and Joanna Gaines. And what they do is they take a family around and they find 3 houses that are all run down and dilapidated. And the people pick what house they want. They buy the house, and then Chip and Joanna fix it up. They basically flip it, if you will. And so one of the things they do in every episode is they come up with a fun name for the house that they're looking at, and then they go through all the things they're going to do to it. And so the only place that the Lover Kimberly came in to take pictures of was the location that we're calling the Soup Kitchen, because it serves pies. It used to. I don't know. It's the Soup Kitchen. It's an old restaurant, right? So we called it the Soup Kitchen. So I literally looked at the guy and he goes, okay, I'm going to call this restaurant the Soup Kitchen. And he looked at me like, jeez, man. And it's got 1,400 square feet, and we're going to go hardwood floors. We're going to knock out a wall. We're going to go recessed lighting, because we're not going to really do those things, but Joanna says the same thing at every place she looks at. So it's just kind of a running joke with my wife and I. We're going to do floors, knock out that wall, recessed lighting, open this space up. That's what we're going to do. So anyway, yeah, it's right across the street from Wahlburgers at 92nd and University. So let's see. There are 3 other malls in Des Moines. They're all dead or dying. Yeah, that's what they're trying desperately to avoid in the Jordan Creek area. Wesley likes Jordan Creek. Easy to get to as a blind guy also. Although it may be dying, Jordan Creek Mall has a ton of foot traffic whenever I go there. We noticed that too. We were there on a Thursday afternoon right after lunch. So it was a little dry inside the mall. And when I say inside the mall, I don't mean inside the mall proper, inside the actual indoor mall. I mean inside the mall complex. So there's a building right across the parking lot from Best Buy where Charming Charlie was. And that's what we're looking at. We're not looking at inside the mall next to GameStop or anything like that. So come on, you'd have to bring your computer in. That wouldn't be any good. All right, so coronavirus. Last week we talked a little bit about some of the single-sourced, cutting-edge conspiracy theory news. One of those things being that the Indian government and an Indian university said that they had confirmed that the coronavirus has been spliced with HIV in a way that would not naturally happen in nature, and they've actually identified the splicing technology that was used to splice it. They know the methodology that was used to splice it. It was spliced. It's not going to give you AIDS or anything like that, or even HIV. They use the coronavirus is asymptomatic, or is symptomatic. Let me back up. Coronavirus is the same thing as MERS or SARS, right? And you could tempt people at the airport because if you have SARS or MERS, you don't spread it until you're symptomatic. So if you're going to engineer a better virus, let's say, what diseases do we know of that you can have for a long period of time where you have completely no symptoms, but yet you can spread it to other people? HIV is one of those. You can have HIV for a long time and spread it to other people before you know you have it. So if we take the protein from HIV that allows it to uniquely bond to a human cell, we could create a pneumonia-based SARS thing. Basically, it's a flu or a cold that attaches and fights like an HIV virus. Now, this is what we don't know. They haven't done enough research to know. Number one, it is completely possible, according to one source, that you can get coronavirus, recover from coronavirus, and get it again. Your body doesn't build an immunity to it, according to one source. So we could see coronavirus coming back year after year, every flu season, now until the end of time. We don't know if once you get it, if it lies dormant, if it comes back. There's so much that we don't know. What we do know is that this week the city of Wuhan had a fog over it because the crematoriums are running 24/7, burning bodies as fast as they possibly can. We do have leaked video from China of police officers chasing down potentially infected people in the streets carrying metal sticks. I'm like, what's a metal stick for? Like, is it like a baton or is it like a shock rod? I mean, what's the metal stick? But they're forcibly quarantining people. As we brought you the news today, the Foxconn plant attempted to reopen because the Chinese holiday is officially over on Monday. The country is supposed to reopen for business on Monday. Foxconn wanted to reopen, and China said, no, you're not reopening. President Xi has not been seen. So my guess is he's in like an airtight bunker somewhere. There's a lot more. There's a cruise ship docked outside of Japan that has like 2,300 people on board. They've only had enough test kits to test about 200 and something people. Of those, 22 of them were infected. So you have an infection rate of about 20%, roughly 10%, 20%, somewhere in there. If that infection rate holds for the entire cruise ship, you have a lot of infected people. So the infections are still going up. There was a leak. A Chinese social media program called Tencent. It's kind of like Twitter. Basically, it's suspected the Chinese are keeping two sets of numbers. They have the set of numbers they're reporting to everybody, and then they have the real set of numbers. So Tencent was posting the numbers, and the numbers were ridiculously higher. And then just a couple seconds later, they were revised downward to the government official numbers. So there is some speculation that it could have been a mistake, or they're keeping two sets of numbers and somebody posted the wrong set. It could be that maybe somebody at Tencent is trying to tell somebody something, trying to tell the public something, but yet have deniability, like, oops, that was just a typo, we rolled it back. But those Tencent numbers that were posted said that as of a few days ago, there were 150,000 confirmed infections in China, not 30,000. That the death toll was far higher, like an order of magnitude higher than what is being reported. Basically, the Chinese numbers are all fake. So when you're looking at the coronavirus live dashboard that tells you all the numbers and they're going up by 3,000 roughly, a day, those numbers are actually fake. It's way, 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 way worse than that. So, and obviously we don't know any of this yet. The stuff that we have some, everyone's freaking out about people coming to Camp Ashland in Nebraska with like a coronavirus potential victims coming to Nebraska. Well, here's the thing: they're putting these people in military bases to quarantine them, and they're taking vials of blood. We got to get samples to study. We got to get American scientists working the problem to figure out what's real and what's not. We can't trust a Chinese communist government to tell us what's really going on. We have to figure that out for ourselves. The only way we're going to do that is by getting the samples. The White House is asking for confirmation from U.S. scientists. Was this or was this not an engineered virus? When that story breaks, it's either going to break, in my opinion, one of two ways. It's either going to break as it's an engineered virus. Oh my gosh, China made this and lied about it. Or number two, we're just never going to hear anything more about it, because it would be such a diplomatic smack in the face to China that we're just not going to put that out in the public. Maybe we'll hear about it from somewhere else eventually. It's going to come out, but maybe just not from America's mouth. China is already starting to spread propaganda on the ground that the coronavirus is actually a U.S. bioweapon that was released on China. So the ground is being softened. People are going to believe what they believe, but I don't believe it was a U.S. weapon released on China. Why would we do that? You know, that doesn't make any sense. The trade thing was going the way we wanted. We got phase 1 trade deal signed. You know, now we're excited. Why are we blowing up our own supply lines and destroying our own American companies? You know, Starbucks is closed. Apple is going to have literally is going to have shortages on AirPods next quarter. If you want to get a set of AirPods for Christmas or a birthday gift for someone next quarter, buy it now, because you're not going to be able to get them next quarter, because there's a 30-day delay between what's made in China and what we have in America. They're 3 weeks into a work stoppage in China right now. 2 of the 3 weeks were planned for. The third one was not. It sounds like there's going to be a 4th week now. So we're halfway through. If this goes on for another 2 weeks, which I believe it will, we're going to have some shortages in goods and inputs and products coming in from China, which are going to have to be sourced from other countries, which takes time. So there's your report, your update, guys. It's nothing to freak out about. It's nothing to, like, you know, go buy masks or anything, you know, and wear them. It's more so something to be aware of. Just keep your eye on it. Be aware that the stuff that you're hearing, anyone who tells you that this is just a flu, this is just like the flu, that's not true. This is not the flu. This is not anything like the flu. This will kill you, and the mortality rate is way higher than the flu. Way, way, way higher. So, but it's, you know, maybe it's only 20%, right? So 80% chance you survive, right? I mean, so again, nothing to get super freaked out about, guys. But we had the first baby born from a coronavirus infected woman. Baby tested positive for coronavirus within 30 hours. Don't know if it could be passed through the placenta or not, or if the baby caught it during the birthing process or after the fact in the hospital. We don't know, because we haven't had the opportunity to study it yet in America, which is why we have people at Camp Ashland, would be my guess. Yes, they're there and they're quarantined to make sure that they can be cared for properly, but some of them are going to be infected. And when we find out who some people are, we'll be able to study that and learn from it and provide better treatments for everybody else. So before everybody, there was a lot of hateful stuff that was thrown out on Facebook on that news story about them coming to Nebraska. You know what? Camp Ashland is designed for that. Don't hate on it. They're doing us a favor. They really are doing us a favor. We're smack in the middle of the country, guys. So we're literally on the opposite side of the planet from China. We're about as far away from China as you can get without leaving the planet. So maybe we'll be the last people to get hit by this, right? But eventually it'll be here. There it is. All right. Let me see. What else do we got here? Going down the line. All righty. Good luck on Des Moines Adventure. It is an adventure, Mark, and it was one of those things, like with lovely Kimberly and I, this whole process when we were in Des Moines, it just felt so alien and so different from the real estate picture in Omaha and Lincoln. It was scary. It was really scary. Like, oh my gosh, why are we doing this? And then we stepped into the soup kitchen, and for the first time, we were like, I can see it. I can see the service center here. I can see people parking in front of the door and coming in with their computers. I can see it working. We can do this. This is going to be awesome. So it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. All right, last call for questions, guys. I got to get rolling here. So let me know anybody else that has anything to ask. What didn't I get to? There was 3 things I was going to. Oh, the beef. So while we're waiting for questions, the last question I have for you is, the Omaha Beef has approached us for a sponsorship. It's like an $11,000 investment, guys. to sponsor the Beef for a season. And then playoff games cost extra, and they've gone to the playoffs like 80% of the time. So it runs an extra like $1,000 a game for playoffs. But basically the way it works is we would get 24 tickets to the Omaha Beef games. We get some in-arena advertising, stuff like that. But I would have I'd have 24 tickets to a game. Now, if I'm buying a skybox at the Ralston Arena for the Beef, I'm going to go to the games, right? And I'm going to probably take my son with me. We have business clients. Maybe they would like to. We could give them some tickets to kind of bonus that, and I want to give some to my radio listeners too. To anybody who wants to come to a game, I've got 24 tickets a game. So let's use them up. Let's have some fun, right? I've never been to an Omaha Beef game before, so I'm at a little bit of a disadvantage. So if any of you have been to a Beef game before, if you could post comments about your experience at the game, I would appreciate that, because I've heard they're a little rowdier than a regular football game. The music is quite a bit louder, which I'm deaf in one ear, so anybody coming to talk to me would be at a disadvantage. But I've heard that they're a lot of fun. The food does cost extra. You don't get food with your box, food or drink, so you have to pay for that. So you'd have to buy your own food and drink in the box, and you can't bring in food and drink from outside. So those lovely dessert trays and charcuterie boards that Kim makes for company events, she could not make those and bring those into the Ralston Arena for our skybox. You just can't do that. So anyway, that's my question for you guys: is if we got the Beef tickets, if we did the sponsorship for $11,000, do you want to go to the games? Because I'm not going to do it if I can't put darn near 24 butts in a seat every game, because there's no point. Why are you buying tickets for something that you're not going to go to, right? Alrighty. The party. Oh, the party. Yeah, I'm like, why is she saying the party? So we went to throw axes. There's a funny thing, guys. So first we just all got warmed up. We were throwing axes, and we got some video clips and some pictures of the guys and gals doing their axe throwing. You can see those all on the Facebook page. But everybody got warmed up, and then we did a competition, right? So the first round of the competition, it was low stakes, no prizes, whatever. So we were throwing axes, and I beat everybody. Yes, I beat Eli by like 3 points. It was a close thing. Beat him by 3 points. So the second round, they're like, now we're playing for flying timber T-shirts. And so, okay, so it's T-shirts, right? And I'm like, you know what? I want one of my employees to win. I don't want to win the T-shirt at the company event. Come on, you own the company, dude. Buy a T-shirt, But the competitive side of me is like, oh, I'm gonna win the event, and then I'm gonna gift my T-shirt to the second place person, because that's how I roll. So we're throwing the axes, we're doing our thing, and Eli beats me by 4 points at the end, and he gets the T-shirt. And he was a machine. Like, the guy was possessed. He was throwing axes, he was killing it. So then we look at the other teams. How did you guys do? And we look at the scores for the service centers. Omaha Service Center, just throwing axes like machines. Lincoln Service Center, doing good. Eli and I were both on the Lincoln team. Then we look at the Papillion Service Center, and literally it's a field of goose eggs. Like, everybody was throwing at the board, and it was like hitting the board and bouncing out, or hitting the board sideways and falling down. Like, they were just not sticking anything. The funny thing is, before the competition, they were doing fine. And after the competition, they did fine. But during the competition, when the rubber met the road and it was stressful, they were not able to cut the mustard. They were not able to achieve score. So here's the thing. If the coronavirus thing becomes a zombie apocalypse and we are required to throw axes at individuals in order to survive, do not go to the Papillion Service Center. Well, I guess that depends on your perspective. If you want to be protected, don't go to the Papillion Service Center. If you're looking for a place to pillage, the Papillion Service Center is relatively defenseless. You might get hit in the face with the butt of an axe, but they're not going to land blade in your skull. You'll be fine. All zombies will survive. No, it was a great party. We had a great turnout. Sometimes for company events, for whatever reason or another, some employees can't come. Lots of our people came. We had a lot of new people. A lot of people brought girlfriends. We had one visitor from the United Kingdom. One of my employees has a friend from the UK, and she came over, Rachel. And Rachel built a cable haunt program for Schrock. And so she was over with us, and she kind of does some work for the Schrock Interactive team, so she was at the Christmas party. And she came to the United States, and she had never shot a gun in her life because she's from the UK. They don't do guns there, and she's never thrown axes. And so we have started the Americanization of Rachel. So we literally gave her the full safe experience, all the different guns. And so we were at the range, and she's shooting the guns at the range, doing her thing. And then when we were done with that, the next day she goes axe throwing, and she actually did really well. She outscored some of my staff on axe throwing. She'd never thrown an axe before. So I'm like, she's going to fit in America, And poor Annette, Annette starts with us, and she's in her like 4th week now. And we're like, hey, Annette, do you want to come to the Christmas party? We're going to throw axes. And she's like, wow, throwing axes? I've never thrown axes. And then we're like, hey, Annette, we're taking Rachel to the range to go shoot. Do you want to come shoot guns with us? And she just looks at us. She's like, you people are violent. Like, what is your deal? You're so violent. And then we're like, well, we do a 4th of July party too. I mean, I guess that's technically explosives, though. Are explosives violent? Maybe we are too violent. I don't know. No, the party was great fun. Everybody had a great time. The food was amazing. We expanded some children's horizons. I'm like, the cheese and the peppers, eat them together. They're good. And the kids are like, oh, I don't know about that, Thor. And they're like, oh, these are so delicious. And they're all gone. So it went very well. Axl Rose. No, Keith, we didn't get to meet Axl Rose. Nope, won't go to beef games. All right, well, that was pretty. Jeff, did the beef do something to you? Was there a bad experience at a beef game? Like, all right. Mary says yes. In airport this AM, we saw a couple, both with masks and gloves on. Yeah, let's just pretend that they were worried about the flu. The thing that, okay, if you're going to have pictures of people that are hilarious, the thing that blows my mind is when you're looking at people on the internet that are made their own like face mask out of like a water jug. You know those like the glug jugs that you can put on the water cooler? They literally like cut the bottom off and then like cut the top down and cut a vent hole in the back, and then they put it on their head like a space alien, and they're walking through the airport. And people in Asia are doing this because you cannot find face masks anywhere. So literally anything they can do to cover themselves up, they're like, I'll put a jug on my head and that'll help me maybe. So it's getting a little crazy, but the artist formerly known as Kimberly. Woo! Beef games are fun. Gotcha. All right. So thank you for joining us for the After Schrock, guys. I got to get rolling. I appreciate you joining us for the show. Please do remember to share the show, like Schrock Innovations, follow Schrock if you want us to pop up in your timeline when we go live. When we do actually sign the lease, we might live stream that for Des Moines, just for you guys in Des Moines, just to like, this is the signing of the Des Moines lease, woo, kind of thing. So they're like, how many years do you want? What are we going to get? There's all these negotiations have to happen. So we have to put on the real estate mogul hat. Luckily, I come from a long line of dominant Monopoly players. So, as I mentioned, my dad is quite the scrabbler. He's a good Monopolier too. Monopolier, that's awesome. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you missed the show. You have to go back and listen to the radio show, and you'll understand the comments there. Went to the few first beef games and did like them. Okay. So we'll see, guys. I mean, it's one thing, if you have, unlimited free tickets, they kind of lose their oomph. But if we're going to have a box with Schrock Innovations' name on it, we want to have a solid box full of people up there, because I've noticed some of the other boxes some games are pretty sparsely populated. The other thing that I thought too is like it's not enough just to have the box. We want to do some giveaways and stuff. Can we like give away a laptop at halftime or something? Like have some competition on the field and have a laptop be awarded to the winner? That would be really fun, right? So like we'll find some ways to mix it up and do some cool things with them too. All right, guys, thanks for joining us on the program. I appreciate the time you take out of your day to be a part of the show and call in and make comments and tell us what you think about what we're doing. It means a lot to me. It really does. And then we're going to get back into the service center. We're going to start killing it. We're open today from noon until 5. So if you are going to come in for the solid state special, I would recommend coming in earlier in the month than later. The solid state hard drives are getting increasingly hard to find for the brands that we choose. We're very particular about the brands of solid states that we put in your computers because some brands are better than others, honestly. Some brands don't have any data recovery options if something goes wrong down the line. So we're thinking ahead. We're planning ahead for future possibilities when we buy drives. And it's getting to the point where we're having trouble getting those drives in sufficient quantities. So if you do want to come in and do this, I would recommend you get in as quickly as possible. Also, if you haven't had a maintenance checkup in the last 6 months on your computer and you already have a solid state hard drive, do come in for a maintenance check. It's important to have the speed of that drive tested, especially if you feel like your computer is a little bit slower than it was when you first got the drive. Thanks for joining us, guys. Have a great rest of the weekend, and we'll talk to you again next Sunday. Have a great day.